Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space and a holiday video. For those that might not be aware, this year, starting in January, on the 25th of each month, on or around, I was trying to post a holiday video and kept up with it. I skipped last month just because I had too much on my plate, and also because I was going to make up for it this month, because more than one brand is doing Christmas in July this year. Love. So today's release is Waffle Flowers July release, which is all Christmas and July themed. So many good things. I will have a link to the release in the description box below the video for you to check out, because it's so good, as always. 2 more Postage Collage stencil sets. I will post a link to my master list, because I don't even know how many have been released over the last few years. And again, if you're not familiar with that, Waffle Flower released the Postage Collage like A2 size die. Goodness, a couple years ago, whenever it was. And then in that time, tons of coordinating stencil sets for that size. And then there have been other sizes released and accessories and all sorts of things. There's a lot to choose from, and it's super fun. So at the end of this video, in the end screen, I'll post a link to my Postage Collage playlist with all the videos I've done so far that I continue to add to as I make more. And I'll also post a link to my Holiday 2025 card series, because same thing. There will probably be several videos this month that will be holiday themed, which is just nice, because it has been taking the pressure off, because I make a lot of holiday cards and trying to cram it all in, late in the fall into the winter gets a little bit chaotic. So this will hopefully help a little bit. So that, along with everything that I use to make today's cards, will be listed and linked in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links and end up placing an order, I do get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. That's what helps, keeps the lights on, pays the bills, enables me to keep bringing out content. So, without further ado, let's get into making the cards. Okay, so first off, I'm just going to show one of the Waffle Flower black grip mats. I've been asked about this. I've shown it in the live stream, but they're still a clear photopolymer. Just with a black acetate sheet. And if you want more like specific info details, a couple little tricks, definitely check out like the product listing on Waffle Flower's website. They've got a video too as well on their YouTube channel, so you can just check it out. Apparently this new mat is more grippy than the previous versions. I would say so. This is literally my first time using it. This is the one that's actually meant to go in a Misty, but I thought I would use it today because why not? So I had die cut some white cardstock using the original Postage Collage wafer dies, and I die cut a couple, and then I laid the pieces onto my grip mat, and I'm using the Postage Collage Vertical Tree stencil set, and this has, I'm not even sure how many layers. We're gonna have to see. I wasn't keeping track. And this one builds this Christmas tree scene, and it is super cute. Like, just, I love it. I don't know why I love these Postage Collage sets as much as I do. They're just fun. So I'm using a combination of my Waffle Flower blending brushes, like the original normal size ones, and then I'm using the 1+ shader brushes to do like multiple colors in smaller areas. And all of my inks I'm using are from Concord and Ninth. Most of them I'm pretty much showing like on screen as I'm using them, like if I've got the lid in place, but I will have every single color that I used listed and linked as always. So that first stencil does the background and part of the little elf that's peeking in the tree. Love it. Love it. No notes. And I just stencil one panel, move the stencil over, stencil a second one. If I was doing more than 2, I would just keep repeating over and over and over again until I filled them all. With one like this especially too, I was like, oh, I could have done just a stack of these. But as always, time is my nemesis. So I just kept working my way through the different layers. You can sort of see it on screen a bit. I've talked about this before. with Waffle Flowers stencil sets. There is like grid lines etched into them. There is other info etched into them. Like it'll point out little things, such as like elf hat, elf hand, elf face, elf shirt, etc., etc. And sometimes it'll also give color advice depending on the stencil set and what the actual finished image is meant to be. So, love that a lot. It just, especially when it's the first time using it, I kind of recommend with any of the Postage Collage sets a lot of times to kind of do a practice run. And once you see it come together, it's like, oh, okay, this makes perfect sense. You know what I mean? Because yeah, I just winged it with this and it worked. I had that one little oopsie at the very beginning because I didn't realize that one opening was for the elf. But I just went over it with red and it was fine. It was fine. So yeah, I've got the stencils in front of me. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 layers for this stencil set. And then yeah, at the top of the stencils, it'll say things too like 1 of 5 backgrounds, 2 of 5 tree, ribbons, birds and ornaments, shadows, things like that. So it's all just nice, you know, all nicely thought out. And you can, at the very least, like I said, like if you do a practice run, like follow the directions the first time and then do whatever you want after that. You know, mix up the colors, mix up this, don't include this portion or whatever floats your boat, you know. They look cute as is, as they're meant to be. But just like all things card making, it's very fun to, you know, start using your wheelhouse and going through and trying different things and mixing up the colors and making it your own. So I kept working my way through until I got to this final stencil that adds the detail, the little like dots to the little elf's eyes and the birds and the little detail of the tree. And I loves it. So then to stamp my cancellation marks, which I have mentioned in, I'm sure, every postage collage video I've done. This is my favorite part. I don't know why. I don't know why. I think it just the freedom of like purposely or just allowing it to be messy and not perfect. So I'm using 2 older sets. I'm using the original Postage Collage stamp set that has the cancellation and the denominations and things. And I'm also using the Postage Collage North Pole little mini set. And I just put the stamps I wanted to use onto acrylic blocks. And I'm stamping these like cancellation and denomination marks with just some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And again, not worried about them being perfect, letting it be messy, because it is what it is. And of course, we're going to add splatter. We're going to add more than one type of splatter. Don't you worry. So, worked my way through and added all these little bits, which again, you could skip. You could just leave it as is. It looks super cute, you know? Ooh, another option. I just thought of this now. Stickles. Oh. I have other things I'm going to add. Like I'm using a white gel pen. So I pulled out my Jelly Roll 10 white gel pen to add just little dots and highlights here and there throughout this. But yeah, stickles would look super cute. That's another idea. Anyway, too late for me now. I already finished these cards, but that would look really cute. Like bling up the little ornaments and the ribbon and things, add stickles. It would be fun. Anywho, I used my white gel pen and just worked my way through adding just the little bits. And even just that, you know, it doesn't take very long and it just adds a little something. I wasn't following any sort of like light source, anything. I just stick them wherever. Like, it's a card. I try not to think too hard about it. So worked my way through, and then after I had added the little white gel pen bits, then we're going to get into the first bit of splatter. So for my splatter, I'm going to use black gouache. And yeah, that's another thing I just like with the Postage Collage. Just like the messy cancellation stamps or my messy stamping of it mixed with a bit of black splatter. I don't know. It just finishes it off in my books. So I'm going to put these panels into my splat box. And I'm going to take a bit of black gouache, just a smidge, put some on my palette. And then I take my fan brush and I add a little bit of water to thin down the gouache, make it a more liquid consistency. And then a light bit of splatter on these. I'm not going, hardcore. It depends on my mood, and what I'm doing. But for these, it just needed a bit. So I worked my way around and added a bit of splatter. And then with well, anything, but especially that black wash, clean it off immediately. That stuff stains. It just stains everything, and just, it's better to clean it off. Anyway, set those aside to dry. And now I'm stenciling directly onto my card bases, which again, I don't do very often. I'm getting braver lately, or crazier. Honestly, that's more likely. We're just going to go with it. So my card bases are AQUA SKY cardstock from Concord 9th. And I'm using the diagonal line stencils from Waffle Flower's latest release. Love these. Love these. You notice I stencil in the direction of the lines. I'm not using a swirling motion like I normally do with my blending brushes. I'm just kind of going back and forth. This one's a bit more of a stronger stencil. I've talked about this when you're dealing with like really delicate stencils, like delicate patterns or little delicate areas. It helps to go in the direction of the pattern so that you're not moving the stencil, you know, the pieces of the stencil around. This one probably would be fine because it's wider gaps and it's a 2-layer, but it's just habit. So I used the Lakefront and Peacock inks on these, and I did it twice on both my card bases. And I love this stencil. This is like an all year round, could use this for anything. You can, mix up the colors, mix up the orientation, flip one the other direction. Love. You can't go wrong with just basic stripes. I love it. So I did that to my card bases, which top folding A2 size note cards. So 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And then my Postage Collage, now that the black splatter's dry, I put Big Mama foam tape on the back of this. And then I'm going to peel off the backing. And then I'm going to pop this right onto my card base. So the card base is going to frame up this little scene with these Postage Collage. And I just love it. It was fun. And now more splatter. I needed a touch of gold. So added some of that as well. So same thing, had these in my splat box, and then used my Gonzai Tombi Starry Colors, specifically the gold one, to add a bit of splatter. I had already added water to it and worked it up off camera, and then splattered that gold across both of these card fronts, and then set both of those aside to dry, cleaned up my brush, etc. And then for the sentiments, I'm using the Warm Wishes, another mini set. And these I'm going to stamp onto Concord 9's Wildberry cardstock. And I'm using my anti-static powder tool because I'm going to white heat emboss these sentiments. So the anti-static powder tool just keeps the embossing powder from clinging to anything other than the stamped image. And then I'm inking up my sentiment with clear embossing ink. I'm going to coat it with some detail white embossing powder, tap off the excess, melt this with my heat tool. Once these are smooth and melted, let them cool off. Only takes a couple seconds. And then I use a microfiber cloth to buff away that excess anti-static powder because that shows up so well on dark cardstock, but it's worth those extra seconds to buff away because heat embossing is so much better with an anti-static powder tool. So buff that away. And then there's coordinating dies for this set, and Waffle Flower's been doing this with a lot of their sentiment sets. Not only does the die cut out the sentiment, it adds a little like piercing, like a dotted piercing detail around the sentiment as well, which I really like. So I die cut the sentiments, and then I die cut a couple of scraps with that same wafer die. And I'm just stacking those together just to give the sentiment that little extra bit of dimension. And then I was originally going to stamp the other sentiment on the insides of the cards, like just with black ink, and change my mind. I decided because I really liked, the piercing detail, and I also really liked how that Wildberry cardstock looked on top of the AQUA SKY cardstock. So I white heat embossed the other sentiment from the set, die cut it, and then glued that to the insides of my cards. So I got those glued into place, and then glued the "Oh What Fun" sentiments to the card fronts. You could stop here, but I'm going to add a little bit of bling because, So I pulled out a pack of the Waffle Flower candy dots from my stash. And originally I was only going to add like a couple, just keep it subtle, just a little, extra. And then once I started, I couldn't stop because I was like, these look so cute. I'll just make them like a little bunch of ornaments. So I just started like peeling and sticking because these are all self-adhesive. So just peel them off, stick them on. And I used a bunch of them. I have a whole stack of these packs of candy dots, that I pull out every once in a while and need to make a point of using them. These are another thing that use them. You know, these self-adhesive, any brand of like gems and enamel dots, etc., use them. Like they'll last for years and years, literally. But at some point, the adhesive just starts to go off. Although, if it does, just use regular glue. Just FYI. But I have had some, not any waffle flower ones and not of any of the brands I've been using recently, but I have some really old enamel dots in my stash that like the color has changed on them and, you know, they've gone like weird. So just use them or enjoy them. Do whatever works for you. I'm all for it. Anyway, those are my cards. Links to all the supplies I used will be down below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and thumbs upping and commenting. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!